I have Richard and Sally Crawford, One Productions, film team extraordinaire, have done lots of projects, and today I want to talk about their passion, their love for making films. They've done it for a long time. They've raised families successfully, and I just want some insights in order to share with the public about who you are, how you started doing it, and maybe a golden nugget in order to inspire people to continue on their passion. So, if you will, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, we've been working in television and film all my adult life. We've done everything from feature films, commercials, industrial training. We've done every aspect of filmmaking and love it and have done it all our lives. We've also had sojourns into other areas of working with the carnivals and fairs where we traveled with a laser theater and put on live performances. So we've done a lot of things.
Yeah, one of the things that we're really good at is being able to get to people's hearts, and that's our passion, is to be able to tell people's story and make sure that it gets out there and people understand who they are. And we work with a lot of startup companies and entrepreneurs ourselves so that we understand their timing and their struggles and their passion to make sure, and their determination to make sure that they get their dream out there and that it's told correctly. So when we see people win, because we've been with people and seen them raise $10 million, $500,000, the next $25,000 that they need to get their business plan. When we get to see that happen, then we feel like we've been a part of that company, and our passion becomes even more so to be able to tell those stories, and we're very good at it. That we're unique in the way that we do that, and that we get the tears and we get the laughter and we get to have people jump up and down. And we had people do things like want to go ski down a cliff, down a mountain in Colorado, and just because they're passionate about skiing, even though it had nothing to do with what their dream is, their passion about skiing wanted to come across to tell their story about their program, and that was fun.
Okay.
Watching them do that. That's our passion, is to get it done, and through having kids and our family to have the struggles sometimes that you do as an entrepreneur and still be able to make it through there because you love telling a story, or
Wonderful.
we love telling a story.
Wonderful. That's a great point. Richard, years ago you made a film called Captain Milkshake.
Yeah.
And I saw the piece, very cutting edge for the time, still an amazing piece. You did that a long time ago. You still continue to do films. I mean, what's your story? I mean, why have you been able to be in love with what you do for so long?
Let's talk about the heart of being an entrepreneur. It requires courage and sometimes stupidity and ignorance to be successful. Because if you really knew what you're facing, you might not even get into it. So the truth is, sometimes we'll jump into a passionate thing not knowing exactly how we're going to do it, what we're going to do. But that is the test. And it comes down to our spiritual belief, which is very simple. You're either in faith or you're in doubt. And that sounds like a simple choice, but we often find ourselves in fear of doubt. And to be an entrepreneur, you've got to go in faith. You've got a good idea. You don't know how you're going to do it. You jump in and you start. And as you go, you will learn what you need to learn. But that takes courage and sometimes ignorance, as I said. So in answer to your question about the film, what was the question?
About Captain.
But I didn't want to get to that.
You still continue to make movies and do everything.
Yeah. And so I have been involved in film and television production all my life. And Sally and I have, as long as we've been together, it's some 38 years now. And we have chosen that path. And again, it takes faith that you're going to continue. People say, how can you work like that? How can you not get a paycheck? How can you not know what your next job is? Our question is, how can you be involved in a place where you're basically a work slave? In the carnival business, we call it having a sucker job because you're not taking your own charge of your life. So we can't imagine what it would be like to live that life where there are no guarantees there either. And people have learned that now, thinking that that was more secure path. And they're out of the job, or they didn't get their retirement, or something else happened. Well, they're in more fear than we would be now. They don't know what to do.
Sure.
They don't have that entrepreneurial spirit. They're looking for the next job. So we've continued. Right now we're developing a package, a slate of 5 motion pictures, and people say, well, how can you do that? How do you know if you're going to do it? When's the movie going to be out? So as soon as you give me a check for part of the investment in this project, we'll know more when the movie will be made.
Sure.
But we have 3 major films we're working on. One, which is a story of our life together and being on the carnival and traveling with the fairs, called If the Sky Should Fall. And we have another film called Night Witches, which is about Russian women pilots from World War II, very dramatic, exciting, heartfelt motion picture. And another third one is about wild horses, saving the wild mustangs, called Glorious Wings. And that's all about a modern day second chance cowboy who gets out of prison, finds out they're killing off the wild mustangs, and that strikes a thing in his heart where he says, that's not going to happen on my watch. And it's a wonderful story. So these films are in development now, and we're seeking funding for those, and we'll be shooting one of those probably by 2012.
Wonderful. Sally, if you were to talk about the life, 38 years, carnivals, films, etc., that you've had, and you've been very successful at raising amazing kids, what's been the effect on your children?
They are all becoming independent entrepreneurs themselves. The only one that really has a real job is only doing it because he wants to pay for his music. But he has the entrepreneurial spirit. So one day I was sitting with Richard and I said, do you realize, Richard, that your mom and dad were entrepreneurs? His mother was an entrepreneur, and I think his mother's parents were entrepreneurs. They all owned, cheese farms, or they had restaurants, and his parents were on the carnival, and then they owned their own store and television store and did photos, and that was his side. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mother worked part of the time, but she grew up in a family where my grandfather owned a store and my grandmother owned she owned her own business and owned a donut store for a while and sold Avon for over 35 years. And I said, our kids don't stand a chance that they can ever feel like they cannot, they have the entrepreneurial blood. They're all doing it. They feel that spirit. They feel that they want to be independent and be able to do their own thing.
Sure.
And I think with being an entrepreneur, you're always having to recreate yourself. You have to think, what's the cutting edge new thing going on? What can you do to keep recreating that spirit inside of yourself, even when you're going, oh my God, especially in the times we're in right now, where you wake up going, oh man, look at what's going on between the craziness in the world and all the craziness, the money and everything else. You just go, I gotta do this. I'll die. Whenever I'd taken a job because I thought I had to, I would come home to Richard and say, I can't do this any longer. I'm dying. It's killing me. I'm strangling. You got to get me out of here. So it's just part of who we are, and that's who our kids are. They know that. They've seen us do that. They've seen me pull out the penny jar and say, okay, we're going to go buy milk with that right now, or do whatever. And we always have made it, and I've always known that.
Sure.
So that's part of it. One of the other things that Richard forgot to say is we're developing TV shows as well that are going to be webisodes and also get picked up, reality shows. So our life is all about redeveloping, recreating, and supporting other entrepreneurs to be better.
And just to cap that off, there is a spiritual basis, like I had mentioned, and you either have faith that things are going to work out all right or work out for the best, or you don't. And you have to have that faith, not knowing how it's going to happen. And it happens over and over again in our production work. When we take on a production, we don't know how we're exactly going to finish that. We don't know where all the pieces are going to come from. But we have to go forward and just start doing it, knowing that this strange belief that they will show up. And sometimes it's right down to the wire, but all of a sudden a miracle happens, and that last component, that last piece just flies in. And I've gotten to where I expect that and know that will happen. And that's the faith you got to have be an entrepreneur. You know that without knowing how, you know it will happen. Then you can become a successful entrepreneur.
I would say that that's a great golden nugget, and I would also say that it reminded me of Shakespeare in Love, right? He was like, hey, it always ends up working out, never know how. And I think more importantly, something that you both have said is that you're in the process of living as opposed to being in your body not living, so you've chosen to live. And the experience of living has to do with us having experience, no matter what it is. Economically, there's highs and lows for every single person on the planet. And being able to gather in love and be friends and be in love for 38 years and raise your children and knowing that everything's going to work out is that's the blessing. So is there anything at all that you want to say before we sign off here to the people that are looking at this blog? Because I'm sure they'll get something out of what this has been.
I think it's just keep going for your dream. Don't give up. Just every time you feel like you need to, you feel like, oh, I better quit this or I can't do it. Just stop and think about, feel your heart and feel the excitement of doing your dream. And if you can do your passion, then you're living. If you're just working because you think you have to do that and you don't have joy in it, then you're not alive. You need to look at your heart and feel your passion.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much. Richard?
Yeah. It does take courage, and it also takes jumping off. And if it's in your heart, you would not have been given that dream unless it's to be brought forward. So you have a gift to give, and when you look at it as you're giving a gift, and that you've been asked to do this by whatever force or motivation or whatever comes to you, but you know that feeling that just wants to get out. You just keep feeling like something's got to come out. I've got to do it. You've got to just do it. You have to just do it. And know that you will be taken care of, because we do have a lot of influence out of our intention as to what will happen. Try it sometimes and see. Write down your intentions in an envelope and open up 30 days later and see what happens. It comes out of your intention. Everything does.
Outstanding. Thank you both so much for being a part of this blog. I'm looking forward to lots of people responding to it, and it's always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.